I'm Chris Shapiro, and this is Retropulse Music, the new heart of rock and roll. We're down here in Pittsburgh today at Stage AE, where in a few moments we're going to interview the baddest man of rock and roll, George Thorogood. So let's talk about what is the most exciting thing for you being on tour right now, being back on the road. What's the most exciting thing?
It's the same as it's been pretty much over the last few years. It's evolved to this. The most exciting thing is that moment I walk on the stage. That one moment. It goes up from there, but that one moment I walk on and you hear that response to when we walk on. It's like an applause of enthusiasm and of respect of all the years we've been doing this, and I don't think I'll ever get used to that.
Okay, now how's this tour compared to the ones you've done in the past? A few moments ago, you were saying about like how you're playing in the bars back in the good old days, but you say these are the good old days. So how's it compare?
Well, I don't know if they're old. I hope they're not old. Good, yes. Because as the economy goes where it goes, as prices go up, there's good and bad to that. People can't seem to afford things. But on the other hand, the quality of venues goes up because it costs more to do it, but people are going to say, well, if I'm going to pay top ticket, I'm not going to go in a place that's a dump. And the venues that we've been fortunate enough to go to or sustain, like this one here that we've never worked. This is relatively new. How old would you say it is?
I think it's about a year, maybe 2 years.
Well,
just
that's a baby. You're sucking on a bottle. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. The level of the venues that we've gone to just keep getting better and better, and the people who work those venues. They themselves are the personnel. It has to be that way. You can't. For instance, I was watching television 2 weeks ago, and I saw an advertisement for the movie Batman.
Okay.
And I looked at it and I said, "That's your competition. All of us. That's our competition this summer. That's what we're up against. A blockbuster movie. And for the amount of money that people have to spend, the average person can go to one thing a year.
Yeah.
One thing, like either a movie or a rock show or a baseball game. That's how expensive things are. But you're getting top of the line. You know, I went to the new Pittsburgh ballpark a few years ago and played there, and there was nothing to be desired. The team could have been a little better. They're making up for that now.
Yeah, we're pretty good now, yeah.
But that happens after a while. It evolves into that. You get the good player personnel. You get the people who start working behind the scenes. You get the best scouts, and they get the best people working the minor leagues. They get the best farm system. So that's where the cream rises to the top, and that's where everybody is at now. And our act tries to, pay attention to that.
Yeah.
So it's better now. It's more challenging to say. You can't even be 10 pounds overweight now. You can't go out there and do a mediocre show. People won't say, well, I'll go see him next week. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're only around once, yeah?
Yeah, it's so expensive.
Well, you mentioned Batman. This is Gotham City, so you got some stiff competition. Pittsburgh. Batman was filmed here last summer.
Is that a fact? Is that right?
Yeah. Have you seen the new Batman movie?
No, I haven't.
Well, if you check it out, take a look at the city, go watch the movie, and you tell me if you see any similarities there.
Well, I had the pleasure of I knew Clint Hurdle when he was a ball player, when he was with the Mets. We were very friendly in spring training. We got along really well. I'm really happy for his success. He already won a pennant with Colorado and doing fantastic with Pittsburgh. It's always been one of my favorite franchises. My grandfather was a Phillies fan, and my grandmother was always coming up to him and saying, "You have a team, I don't have a team. I should have a team." So they were playing the Pirates in spring training. So she said, "Okay, the Pirates are going to be your team." This is a long time ago. She goes, "Okay, the Pirates are my team." Now, every time we were watching the Phillies on TV and they were playing Pittsburgh was always beating them. So when it became to the ninth inning, my grandmother would come into the room and just sit there like this going, "I told you these Pirates are great." And my grandfather just, But I had a chance to go into the locker room and meet Willie Stargell, which was great, and Chuck Tanner and Dave Parker and Madlock and all those heavy cats. Bernie Carbo took me in to meet them. So always had a crush on that franchise.
Okay, and you played a little semi-pro in the beginning, right? How much? Let's talk about it.
Very semi, extremely semi.
Okay.
It was basically a weekend league. It was about 20 games in the season. I only did it for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, getting back to the show, when you walk out on stage and you see like 1,000 people who have come just to see you, to spend their summer day with you, what goes through your mind? Like, what do you feel inside? What emotions?
Don't blow it. Don't blow it. I have this theory that people only, now with the money they spend, people only have time for great. Life is too short. They don't have the time anymore that people had 40 years ago. Time is very special now. It's very precious. You don't have 8 hours in a day for things to do. You can do probably one thing a day, Chris. That's how complicated life has got. So I said, this is the one thing they're going to do. They will not accept mediocre. They will not accept something that's okay. I'm gonna mention a name to you and see if you can remember the person. I'll just mention the name. You know, to be polite, I'll mention a name. Say Gus Triandos. You know that name? Just yes or no?
I don't know.
Okay. How about DiMaggio?
Yeah.
Why?
Marilyn Monroe played baseball.
Keep going. Why they remember him?
He was an icon.
Keep going. Why?
He was on
Number
the
one,
Seinfeld episode whenever Kramer thought he saw him in the coffee. Okay, way off.
Why would they remember him? He was great. That's what I'm trying to say. People remember great. They don't remember mediocre.
Yeah.
Did you remember that name I just said?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So
greatness. That's why we remember George here, because he's great.
I mean, people still say Gehrig. People still say John Lennon.
Yeah. Led Zeppelin and
exactly. That's what they remember. And I met DiMaggio once, and we got to talking. Yeah, well, he did. We talked for a long time. Actually, he sought me out. He came over and introduced himself. Didn't know who I was. Wanted to know all about me. We talked. And we talked for about 2 or 3 hours, if you can believe that. And he told me something that was really locked in my head. He said, when he found out what I did, what I do for a living, he said, George, you only owe your fans one thing. And I said, what's that? He said, your best. Now, that was a command from the Yankee Clipper. And I took it to heart. I said, yeah, that's what they want. That's what they paid to see. When DiMaggio retired in '51, he had a great year that year, a very good year, above average than any major leaguer would have. And he said, I'm going to retire. And he said, well, Joe, your aches and pains, your legs are catching up to him. He said, no, look at my numbers. They said, Joe, they're good numbers. He said, they're not DiMaggio numbers.
And if they're not the best, then
I'm gone. There it is. And I said, that if everybody thought that way, that's where the quality level goes up.
And you get out when you're on top, and then you're remembered forever.
Somebody else step in.
Yeah.
When they came in, they see he was doing a doubleheader with playing the St. Louis Browns, and he went 4 for 5 in the first game. Yankees won us, 15-2. Second game, played the second game. Yankees were like 10 games ahead in the standings. Went out and played another. Halfway through the game, a teammate said, Joe, why don't you take the rest of the day off? And why are you hustling so bad? He said, see those kids? They came to see the great DiMaggio.
Yeah.
Period.
And that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit. And I want to ask you, do you really drink alone? Because what's the story behind that song? Because I saw that you dedicated it to Lee Marvin, one of my favorite guys, Dirty Dozen. Yeah. What's the story behind that?
I had I was listening to country music at the time. I listened to a lot of country music, and I thought that would be a good theme for a country song. And I was trying to write it and get it to George Jones. Okay. And I thought that would be interesting, she got the gold mine, I got the shaft kind of a thing. And I went to EMI, and they said, no, there's only one artist who's going to record that song. I said, Tom Waits, Dean Martin? They said, no, we didn't hire George Thorogood to be writing I Drink Alone and have someone else do it. Now you go home and put the song together. And what I was really thinking about was you can say that about anything, because as you live your life, if you live a long life, hopefully you will, Adam too, I hope you live a long life, most of the time you're alone. You spend most of your time alone. Drinking alone, eating breakfast alone, going to the bathroom alone, watching TV, reading a book. So it's not really anything but that. Most people they go, oh yeah, he drinks alone. I go, if I'm out with my wife and my daughter, I'm doing everything alone.
Yeah, it's just an aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now let's talk about pool a little bit. Because in their video, Bad to the Bone, you made some cool shots, impressive shots. Are you that good of a pool player? No. So if we went across the street to Jerome Bennis's bar, we couldn't start hustling?
That was some fabulous acting.
That was a good video, too. I mean, you had some big names in there. What's the story behind that?
Moscone, they got to set that thing up. He was the real deal.
Yeah.
No, I mean the real deal. He's a small man, he's not in size. And when he was a child, his parents were vaudeville actors. Okay. And he traveled all over the country. When he was like 5, 6 years old, he was too young to go to school, and his parents did these vaudeville shows. And they had pool tables backstage, and he would stand on telephone books
No way.
and shoot pool all day, all night long.
That's
And he was the best. He even had a very serious man, really cracked a smile, serious guy, and he even had a bodyguard, had a piece,
No way.
45 automatic, 11 shooter.
So you didn't mess with him, pretty much.
He's not.
You did not hustle that man.
No. The pool table itself was just terrible. It was the same. There was a gym next to it, and there were still people training, and it was in Bayonne, New Jersey, supposedly where Chuck Wepner used to train. That was the inspiration for the Rocky movie.
All right.
So okay, and next they had a pool room. The balls were all chipped, and the turf was all ripped up, taped up with, and still Moscone came and made every shot on that terrible thing. It would have been like asking, Brooks Robinson to play infield out on a parking lot and not missing a ball. That was amazing.
Well, again, going back, he was the best. He came and he performed the best, right? No matter what circumstance.
Moscone had that attitude. He had that. He just walked in, and I said, there's people who think they're the best and people who know they're the best. And Moscone and DiMaggio were like that. I said, these people never talk about themselves. Why? The whole world's talking about them. Yeah. So they never talk about themselves. The great ones don't talk. They just do.
And they know that they're great, but they don't share it. They just... No. Now, with your music, I mean, you are really so unique in your sound. I don't know every song you have, but if I hear it on the radio, I know it's George Thorogood because of your sound. And how long did it take you to discover, your musical identity as a musician? How long did that take?
Half of that was on purpose, Chris. I did that on purpose. I selected the 125 because everybody was playing Les Pauls or a Fender guitar or something, and no one played the 125. And now, physically, it's good for my hands. I can't play any of the guitar. That was one thing. That was a break. But the sound of it alone, I listen to Van Morrison on the radio. The second you hear Van's voice, you know who it is. Yeah. Even if the song starts playing, I wonder who it is. The second you hear his voice, you go, it's Van. So I wanted that, for better or worse. I wanted, when they heard my guitar, to go, it's Thorogood. Click. Or turn it up. I wanted that. That was a conscious, what do you say, an effort on my part.
And lastly, rock and roll has changed so much. You've been out for 35 years, but we've had, last 10 years, so many changes. YouTube, record stores don't sell as much as they used to. It's kind of like the Wild West. Where do you see rock and roll going in the next 10, 20 years? Being, a rock legend yourself, just being in it, the best.
Rock legend. Hey!
Where do you think it's going? What do you see on the horizon?
I don't think there is any rock music or rock and roll music anymore. There's popular music, and there's new music that's very fantastic. But in a sense of what rock music was, it was probably between like 55 and 75, which is why they created rock classic radio for that purpose. Before that was called oldies.
Yeah.
Then it's rock classic. So the form of it has made its mark, and now it's moved on. It's evolved into other things. You listen to people and I go, well, this is great music. It's really good music, like Jack Johnson. But it's not rock. It's not rock and roll, but that's okay. Yeah. That's just what it is. What is the woman passed away, Amy Winehouse? Yeah. What is she? Brilliant, fantastic. Is she rock? Is Madonna rock and roll? They categorize it that so they can sell it. But really, the rock in a form has long run its course. Yeah.
And lastly, there was a lady at work who asked me, how important is it that you follow the formula, one bourbon, one scotch, one beer? Can you change that around? How important is that?
I don't think that song I've ever sang the same lyrics twice.
Really?
It's John Lee Hooker. John Lee Hooker is something, even if you're trying to do it the same, you can't. Yeah. And if you're saying, well, I'm going to make an effort to play this song differently tonight, you don't have to. It plays itself.
Yeah.
With Hooker's music, it's just the way it goes. You go out there and you say, well, this is the one song, it's every man for himself. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Thorogood, thank you so much. Thanks, have a great show tonight. It was a pleasure to meet you. George Thorogood is all about the best. And that's what he brought here tonight at Stage AE. The man is a living rock legend, and it was such an honor to speak with him today. I want to thank Jim, Jenna, Adam, Amy Cooper, and my cameraman, Adam Burns. We'll catch you next time right here on Retropulse Music.